You deserve a tech career you love, coworkers you can count on, innovation you're proud to build. If you're ready to change the world through technology, explore a career at Cox. Make a real impact in engineering, development, cybersecurity, and more, all while experiencing work-life balance, flexible work options, and great benefits. Visit cox.career/tech to find a job you love today. That's cox.career/tech.
Warning. Those of you with weak constitutions may want to stop right here. This episode, the theorists are exploring cases where the bodies of both humans and animals have been found to be mysteriously mutilated. Those bodies that show bizarre evidence of scorch marks, surgical-grade incisions, and soft tissue and organ removal. Who, or what, could have possibly perpetrated these heinous acts? Researchers have been baffled for decades on what has been the cause of a majority of these killings, of which number now over 10,000 reported cases since the 1960s. Those looking for the simplest explanation attribute the killers to natural predators and scavengers, and in rare cases, perhaps the stray cult. But it is hard to deny that many of these cases share such chilling similarities that they beg further investigation. No known natural predator can leave a corpse of a full-grown cow completely devoid of blood, or make near-perfect cuts with which to extract organs with the exact precision that is seen in some of these cases. This episode of ATT, you will listen to Dan and Braden truly put the gruesome and gruesome twosome. Join the theorists as they put on their surgeon's gloves and dissect some of the truly disturbing cases of UFO mutilations.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing, Case File 78. Well, would you look at that, eh? I'm Braden.
I'm Dan.
It's the Gruesome Twosome!
Gruesome twosome.
It's the Gruesome Twosome! Da-da-da-da-da. So if you're not already on our Patreon, one, you should get on it for as low as whatever Zell's charging. You can get access to all our bonus content. We do Dungeons & Dragons, tons of after hours, and we do something that me and Dan call the Gruesome Twosome. And since Zell's gone this week, the Gruesome Twosome is coming at you live for a live case file.
Unsupervised.
Unsupervised.
We probably
the parents
need,
gone.
Yeah, we probably need an adult. There's nobody watching us.
So yeah, get on our Patreon. We do tons of stuff, but normally we do something called the ATT Confidentials.
Mm-hmm.
We do a designated case file that's just for Patreon. But if that's not your cup of tea, this will always be free. So anyways, first things first. Our buddy Chris from AlienCon showed us an absolutely great time. It's Chris' birthday coming up. Or just... it might be belated by the time this come out. It's either coming up or it just happened. So happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday.
We love you. I guess I could sing. Zelly hates when I sing. I could sing the whole podcast. Happy birthday.
And then nobody will listen to this podcast ever again.
So happy birthday, Chris. Thanks for making our Alien Con. You and the girls made it so special. It was absolutely unreal. What else do I got? Oh, why don't we get right into some space news? Zell's gonna fucking hate me.
Oh, God. It's going to fire us.
Yeah. Oh, this will be it for us. Man, so first off, if you haven't gone and seen some of the fake NASA pictures of Hurricane Florence, they're absolutely spectacular.
Super fake.
Oh, super fake. Well, everyone knows that NASA, there's no satellite, so those are
Right.
Those are all just, made up in their Photoshop. But anyways, unreal photos.
I think it's
From the
huge.
International Space Station. It's crazy. It's absolutely
So
fucking.
big.
I guess it hit, and I hope everyone's okay. But it did.
Lots of flooding. Lots of
Lesson.
flooding. I hope everybody, we do have listeners down there, I hope everybody's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it did as much damage as they were expected to do. There's still a lot of damage. There's a lot of flooding. Some of the agricultural areas might be impacted if it keeps on raining. But it definitely, when it did hit, it slowed down a bunch before it hit. And now I think it's just a fuckload of rain.
What else I got? I got. This is awesome. Basically, we find like radio burst anomalies few and far between. Lots of times they can figure out where it's coming from, but sometimes there's those weird ones where could be aliens. University of California, Berkeley, they trained an AI using an algorithm to detect essentially these like pulses. They put it to work and they gave it 5 hours of radioactivity collected from a part of the sky that often has a lot of like radio burst data. Within that 5 hours, it found 72 new potential single source like FRBs, like frequency radio bursts in 5 hours, bringing the total number of recognized single source to 300. So in like a matter of 5 hours, it was just like, yeah, there's 72.
Yeah, doing that all by hand isn't crazy. Like, not by hand, but people doing it just by themselves, unaided by computers, like that takes forever. Like, to analyze that amount of data coming in from all those points, having an AI do it, I think there's a huge step forward, and we just may find something,
Oh, dude, the more we let the reins off AI to do that, it's scary, but we're gonna find more and more shit like that. It's gonna be unreal.
Yeah, as long as they don't hook it up to the internet, we'll be okay.
Yeah, it's tough. But even if it's finding these radio bursts, right? Soon it's going to be sending. Then it's going to make a data link. Soon our AI is going to be off-world, and we're not even going to know
Oh,
it.
true. Oh, we're boned.
We're boned. Big time. I didn't have that much more for space news. If you've been northern or southern hemisphere, you've been in for a treat because we've had just auroras after auroras after auroras. It's been crazy. But I guess we have to talk about the Sunspot Solar Observatory shutting down.
Definitely have to talk about it right now.
Yeah. So me and Dan already talked about this on our ATT Confidential, which came out, well, might not be out yet, but it'll be out soon before you listen to this. But basically, FBI rolled into this solar observatory in fucking Black Hawk helicopters, just landed, was like, everyone get the fuck out right now.
Yep.
They shut down the observatory and the post office. Lots of people are like, they shut down the whole town. I was like, from what I could see, they shut down like a huge chunk of area, but in that area encompassed like maybe a couple houses, but not many. And more importantly, the post office and the observatory.
Yeah. No explanation as to why. The local sheriff's office, like the FBI just said, get out. The FBI spokeswoman says that no comment on what they're doing. They just say it's security precautions or something like that. They've said it's a matter of security. We've had a credible security threat or something like that, and they've just shut down the whole observatory, and there's nothing really going on up there. Nobody saw anything, but like Brayden said, people saw Black Hawk helicopters, people coming in with what looked like specialized equipment. Yeah, it's super weird.
No reports of any hazmat gear or like any kind of that. Like this observatory, its main purpose is to look at the sun.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yep.
Super weird. Right away when I first heard the post office too, I was like, oh, maybe this is more about the post office and less about the observatory, and it's just in proximity. But then as soon as they weren't sending, like as soon as I read that they weren't sending any hazmat teams or like bomb, there was no people, like it was just everyone in like the classic like FBI windbreaker. So then I was thinking in my head, I was like, oh, maybe someone sent like a dangerous package through the post office. And I was like, oh, okay, well that can't be. And I was like, well then why the fuck would they shut down the post office? And I was like, oh, maybe they found something on that solar observatory and they're stopping anyone from sending that information.
There's been some rumblings that it's maybe has to do with White Sands Air Force Base, which is a missile testing site over in near that area. The observatory actually looks over the base, and it's where it's positioned. So some people are thinking that maybe spying equipment had been installed, or it was some foreign power was using it to spy on the missile base. So they're not really sure. Yeah, that's a rumor that I've heard going around. It sounds, but you don't know yet. We won't know until stuff gets sorted out.
Another, I keep reading unconfirmed reports, and I can't find it, that other solar observatories are being closed down or have been closed down in the last little bit. But there is also that really weird. I don't know where the link is right now, but all the like solar data, like the public data sites where you can look at the like information, it's like a black and white thing, it has a little timestamp that like rolls, they're all missing like 7 hours from the day when the observatory shut down. I'm like, that's fucking a little weird. And like you can watch it, a guy has it posted, and he watches it, and they all skip about 6-7 hours at the same time. I'm like, that's fucking interesting, but could be unprecedented astrological event, or just some people spying on a missile base. Either way, interesting stuff. It's still developing, so there's not much information out
Maybe
yet.
It'll get sorted out by the time this gets out. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll still be weird.
Anyways, let's get into UFO case file of the week. And I'm going to start the machine right now.
Fan submission.
Oh, fan submitted. All right, this one's from. I'm not gonna say his last name because he probably didn't know this was gonna get read on air, but it is. So I'll just say his first name. Hello, leader. Oh, this is from Andrew. Hello, leader of the Prolapsers. My name is Andrew, and I have been a fellow listener of the podcast for a week now. I'm on episode 47 now. That's 47 hours of listening.
Wait,
in a
who's
week.
the leader of the Prolapsers? Is he referring to Zell? I guess he is. I mean, who's leader? Your leader?
I don't know. Yeah, who? You know what, Andrew? Who were you hoping this went to?
Yeah.
It should have been hello leaders, but I think you've picked a leader. I'll tell you what. I know Dan's not claiming to be the leader of all the Prolapsers.
No, not me. Still hate that name.
Hello, leader of the Prolapsers. My name is Andrew, and I've been a fellow listener of the podcast for a week now. I'm on episode 47, and I'm enjoying it so much. On episode 19, you all played with a Ouija board. I have had many accounts with the paranormal, as we have had. I'm gonna guess it was meant to say we have had demonic encounters. And one of those events involved a Ouija board. The year is 2007. No, it's not. It's 2018. I just moved into... Oh, this is in the past. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm kidding. The year is 2007. I just moved into a 2-story townhouse with my roommate at the time. His name is... I'm going to change his name because I don't know if you wanted all these names out. His name is going to be Esteban. Now, before I go forward, I've had a couple of run-ins with the paranormal before this terrible incident. I believe that certain individuals can make themselves prone to different types of energy, which can make them into a receiver to attract energy that is unexplainable. Esteban and I talked about getting drunk with friends and messing around with a Ouija board. Always a good thing. So we made a call one weekend, and Esteban's friend, I got to think of another name, Carlito, brought a board that his girlfriend had. We also invited a few other people over to have a wonderful and entertaining time that evening. So Esteban, Carlito, and his girlfriend, Jose, our neighbor, Benoit, and her sister and myself all started drinking. And within a few hours, the board was brought out. We messed with it doing the open chants, all sloppy with words slurred. Then we asked questions, and for about 10 minutes, we got nothing. I think because we were just too drunk. Jose said goodbye to the board, and we all got up and headed to the kitchen. We were all standing there, just conversing, until we heard the sound of glass shattering in the living room. And no, Stone Cold Steve Austin did not come in the house beating the shit out of us like Brian Pillman. Good. But what we say and heard next sobered us up real quick. We walked into the living room, and we see the glass table where we were playing with the board shattered into pieces. So the glass table shattered. And the board was laying right in the middle of the mess. The dial was laying across the opposite side of the living room near the staircase. We slowly walked over to get a closer look, trying to accept that what we saw was real. Then we hear heavy footsteps running up the stairs and run into my bedroom, and the door slams shut. At this point, Benoit and her sister leave. Carlito and girlfriend took the board and they left, and Jose said his goodbyes to us. I'm getting all these names mixed up now. Carlito and I stood there cleaning up the mess quietly and coming to terms with what we wanted to try out, and we had made a huge mistake. Our lease was almost up within a month, but for that month, it was a living hell. This entity wouldn't leave my closet. My closet was a walk-in, and it had a huge cubbyhole in it to where you can store stuff. Every time I would walk into my closet, the smell of sulfur would hit me hard, and I'm not kidding you. The damn thing would have a low growl every time I walked in there. That's what I pictured in my head. Every time you open the door. Over the final month, this thing would run up and down the stairs, hissing and growling, slamming both mine and Carlito's bedroom doors and the bathroom door. Carlito got so fed up with it that he called it out when he heard it walking around that the entity stopped, and you can hear slowly walking out of my room and making its way down the staircase to meet him. Ooh. Carlito said he felt a heavy presence standing in front of him, and he smelt rotting flesh. Then it hissed, and Then Carlito grabbed his stomach and threw up. On the final night there, we had all of our stuff moved out, and we ignored the entity the whole time. As we made our way to the front door, you hear upstairs, "Goodbye." I just have goosebumps writing it. The voice sounded like a middle-aged man. Carlito and I left and locked the door, sorry. Fast forward 6 years, Carlito and I no longer speak. Hell, I don't even know where he lives. I would always drive back to the townhouse just to check things out to see if anyone lives there. I went there several times since the final move out, and every time I go, no one has moved in. So I went to the front office and asked them about the townhouse. The office was run by a different management group, and they told me that the townhouse was under renovations. So I said, when would it be available? And they told me, and I quote, "As long as it takes until all the issues are taken care with that unit." I shook my head and said no more, and I walked away. Hope you guys enjoyed my story I shared with you. Keep up the good works. Cheers. Fellow prolapser, Andrew from California. Ooh, little, we had no such luck with the Ouija board, but that's fucking creepy.
Some people do, some people don't. I think it's a hit or miss.
I think to be honest, I think when we're there with Andrew too, Andrew Kibosh, he's always like fucking pressing the planchette so hard and
got to be open to the possibilities.
Yeah, I think everyone there needs to be truly open, and I think Andrew shuts us down.
It's that negative energy.
So I called this podcast, this Case File 78. Well, would you look at that, eh? Because we originally had a plan for Sunday. That plan fell through because Zell had some other obligations that I don't know if he forgot about or couldn't overlap with the podcast. So we didn't want to do that case. We're gonna talk about Caleres, but we want to do that with Zell. So then me and Dan said, well, why don't we still do one? And we were gonna do a power hour and just talk about a bunch of different things, which we still might.
Yep.
But
we're still going to Brazil though, because this part
we're still going to Brazil.
There's still some stuff that we're talking about that happened in Brazil. So we're going to talk about Caleres at a later time. I know we've probably said it like a million times. We're going to talk about it. But Caleres, Brazil is an insane UFO case, and that's going to be really fun. But we're also today going to talk about another case that happened in Brazil, because Brazil is fucking weird.
And the second you sent me this, I like looked at it and it says like Brazil human mutilation UFO is like what it popped up in the link. And I thought in my head, I was like, oh, it's just the fucking gangs, like 100%. Like, you know, like some drug gangs doing stuff, torturing someone or something.
Well, I can't take full credit.
Then I looked into it.
Yeah, it gets weird. I can't take full credit for it. One of our listeners, Ellie, sent us the link to this thing. I had heard about this before, and it's like it was in the back of my head. And when I saw the pictures, I'd seen the pictures before. But yeah, I was like, oh yeah, and I knew it happened somewhere like in South America. And it was sitting there. I was like, oh, this is really good. We should talk about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, you looked at the pictures.
Oh yeah. I looked through the pictures. Fucking terrifying. Do you want to outline it a little bit?
Okay, so this happened. Well, it didn't come to light until I think about 1994. This didn't actually come to light. That on the 29th of September 1988, a male body was found near the Guarapiranga Reservoir in Brazil. The male bodies was actually identified later, but the family did not want the details released just for their privacy and just the bizarreness of the murder itself. It's just like you wouldn't want this stuff released about you even if you were dead. What came first was that the person who brought the photos was named Encarnacion Garcia, had a friend named Dr. Rubens, who was in possession of some strange photos which had been given to him by his cousin, who was a police technician at the time, named Ruben Sergio. Now, when Encarnacion saw these photos, what was really strange about them, this was in 1994. The first thing that came to mind was that at that time, in 1994, UFO cattle mutilations were kind of on the brain. They had started becoming kind of hitting the mass media and that kind of stuff. And the wounds that this human body had from 1988 were eerily similar to the wounds that were found on the carcasses of the cattle that were being mutilated. There are photos. We'll probably post a link on our Twitter or on our Facebook, but be warned, they are.
Oh yeah,
they're graphic. They are gross.
Yeah, but they're also like when you look at them, it adds like. Be forewarned, like you have to look at them to appreciate that, like if you were skeptical, and then it's one thing to look at those cow mutilation ones and you're like, that's fucking weird. It's totally something else when you see it on a human. You're like, what the fuck is that? What happened here?
Yeah, they said that the thing that made them suspect that this had perhaps been a UFO abduction, or they related it to the cattle mutilations, was the body had multiple cuts and wounds on different areas of the body, and they looked like they had been made with like precision. These weren't like animal wounds. They weren't caused by like a fall or anything like that. These things were like really exact cuts. The internal organs had been removed through what looked like small holes, and also the fact that there was a lack.
Not just small holes, strategically placed small holes.
Yeah.
To pluck out organs.
And there was a serious lack of blood. Like the body had been exsanguinated, which is the word for take out all the blood, which is a cool word. So these things kind of ruled out what they said. They kind of ruled out, the usual suspects of, well, I say usual suspects, but it's still weird, like Satanists or revenge seekers, or even like a serial killer at that point, because just the fact, the way that these wounds are made, it's not similar to any other human that they found, or any other bodies that they found, or that at least that they've released the information about. So to kind of go into detail, so if you don't want to look at the pictures, you could just listen to the rest of this. When you look at the photos, the flesh around the mouth had been cut out, almost all the way back to like the back of the jaw.
To give you some more detail on that, around the mouth, so like exposing all your gum line, and imagine someone cut to expose essentially your full like smile.
Yeah, and not just the lips, like the whole like all of the muscle and everything like around there just gone.
Yeah. Gone.
They also said that the ears and the eyes were removed, and the mouth cavity was emptied, so they removed the tongue as well, which is a but it's a usual hallmark of the animal mutilation cases as well, having the tongue ripped out. Some people can attribute that to scavengers having the tongue pulled out. I know we've talked about it, like in the Dyatlov Pass case, where at least one of them looked like their tongue had been removed, but they attributed that.
100%. The scavengers go for the soft spots, right? They're going to go for the ears, the eyes, the mouth, and the ass first. That's where they go. But you know what? Scavengers don't leave fucking torch marks around the eyes.
Yeah, what they really were interested in looking was the precision, like these cuts and the stuff that had been removed looked like there wasn't that much bleeding around the wounds, and they said they attributed that to some sort of, or they suggested that this could have been some sort of laser-like instrument that produced heat, and then so while it was cutting, it was also cauterizing the edges of the wounds. So
because the skin around looks like, for lack of a better word, like, and this is me, wherever there's a hole where something's removed, it looks like burnt a little bit.
Yeah, around the edges. It's like Brayden said, the internal organs had been removed, and they said they had perhaps even, or it looked like they had been sucked out through the small circular incisions which were made on different parts of the body, like around the abdomen and around the sides. And this actually left they said like it left a visible shrinkage on the body. Like a lot of the abdominal cavity was shrunken, the chest cavity was shrunken because the organs had actually been removed, not like chewed out. They hadn't been like ripped open the stomach and pulled everything out like an animal would do, but they had been removed through these small holes. And this is at the time, some surgeons had been known to use that kind of technique to remove diseased tissue from like internal organs and things like that. But it wasn't something that, like, if you're going to find a body in the middle of Brazil at a reservoir. This is,
Yeah, that's not where you expect it. So basically, all organs removed. He's got these hole cuts. He also there's his like he was, for lack of a better word, bored out like in his anus, like a huge
like
everything.
Cord. Like this guy had been like
cord out. And the only thing I can think of, like, so when you're hunting or something, there's a tool they have, and it's called the butt out, and you insert it and twist it, and it like catches everything, and you pull everything out, and like that's like I'm not I don't do autopsies, but that's what it looks like it happened. Like there's a blatant hole, like that's it's disturbing, and everything removed.
Yeah. And even that, like they had that whole the stuff the digestive tract, excretory tract had all been removed. Or what it looked like, at least down to very little was left inside. They said that if you move from the downstairs to the upstairs, they've had that part, at least one of the ears was cleanly excised, was cut off, and the report states that auditive internal and external matter was removed. So parts of the inside the auditory, the stuff inside the ear was also pulled out. And they said that they also, the photos don't show it, but they said there in the report there were small holes that were discovered in the cranium. But the medical examiners didn't say how much, if any, brain tissue was removed. But there were holes. So
even weirder. So they took this body and did an autopsy, and they figured the cause of death was acute hemorrhage in multiple traumatisms, and a component of death caused by vagus stimulation, implying cardiorespiratory arrest caused by extreme pain. This is a quote: "The victim shows injuries with vital reaction characteristics, i.e., there is the component of, in brackets, torture. The suggested modus operandi is incisions in soft parts and natural orifices using sucking devices." Sucking devices.
Yeah, all of the incisions and the cuts that were in the body were all very precise. Usually being about 3 to 1.5 centimeter elliptical incisions, or they had 3 by 6 inches in diameter were a couple of the other ones. But these were exact cuts and holes. Like it doesn't look like, it does not look like any kind of animal that could do that. I mean, maybe a cookie cutter shark could kind of do that, but is it where? In Brazil? No.
Now, Dan, like after reading that about like the sucking devices, I have this terrible like image in my head of this guy being like some sort of like Dr. Octopus looking alien.
Yeah.
Attaching himself. But like when I look now at those holes, like on, especially the one on the back, what I thought was like potentially like where it's really blackened, I thought was maybe burn marks. I wonder if that is like a suction mark that has formed like the worst hickey you have ever seen around the hole.
Oh, it could be.
So like something had grabbed around and was cutting the hole and sucking with so much force that it caused the blood to like come up. Because you can almost see a perfect circle on the one end, right? And then like once it released, like it looks like blood flowed. However, it looks like the blood would have flowed down. So maybe he was hanging upside down. I don't know. It's, you know what? All his cuts. Oh, this is weird. So all his cuts, right? If you look at them, the one on the back, the one on his leg, the one in his arm, there's like a perfect semicircle, and then there's like, you can see where like the blood's like bled. If this is a hickey mark, like where it's all been pulled, and then gravity, it would have bled down the hill. They're all, in my inexpert opinion, if we're going with they all would have traveled with gravity, it looks like he was hanging upside down.
Yeah. Like Braden said in their report, like this guy it looked like he had a heart attack from pain. this guy was still alive when they were doing this. Like, this is not a revenge killing. Like, if this were a revenge killing, it's not the hallmark of anybody. You know, there are weird stuff that sometimes, you know, gangs and stuff do is kind of like their signature, but I've never seen anything like this or never heard about anything like this. Nothing was in the reports about this being like a hallmark gang killing or revenge killing or something like that. Like, even if this dude was like, you know, it was some sort of domestic dispute or like he was sleeping with somebody's wife, who's going to take the time to do all this? That's just, ugh. You know, that's somebody that if this was done by a human, it's absolutely insane.
Now, I had read that. I had read someone was like, oh, this is someone like someone's doing this to cows and they've just moved on to humans. And I'm like, well, I don't think so, because I think there'd be more cases of it, because I don't think if someone was doing this to cows for that long and then they do it to a human, I don't think psychopaths go back to being like, all right, well, I didn't quite like that as I might like doing a cow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, normally they keep on keeping on doing it to humans after once they bridge that gap.
This is one of the few cases to what could have possibly been UFO mutilation that was the cause of death for a human, but it's not the first. The actual first one that most people refer to is from 1976. There was an Air Force sergeant known as, this was a secret report that had been attained by a group known as the Skywatch International. And Skywatch International was kind of they were founded in 1996, and they were kind of an offshoot from MUFON. They wanted to be kind of like the alternate to MUFON. I guess some people were, they got kind of fed up with how MUFON was working or didn't like the politics or whatever, but they had moved out into Skywatch International. And this organization said they had attained a file which mentioned a report of one Jonathan P. Lowett, that on the March of 1976, him and his senior officer were detailed to travel several miles down range of where they were stationed, which was White Sands Missile Base. And they were going to recover any debris that was covering, that had maybe landed there due to spent missiles. Now, the senior officer said that he and the sergeant separated in order to cover more area. And just after a short while after they separated, the officer heard screams in the area of where the sergeant had been searching. He ran over there to check if what had happened to the sergeant, thinking maybe he had bitten by a rattlesnake or something like that. And he said that he saw a disc-shaped craft that was floating low above the ground, or relatively low. And there was a long tentacle coming from the underside of the craft. And that was wrapped around the sergeant, and it dragged him into the craft and then shot away. When the officer returned to the base, they said he was in a state of shock, and he reported what he saw. They immediately did not believe him, and then they said they arrested him for murder. But 3 days later, they said that they found the sergeant's body, and it was mutilated, and it was found 20 miles down from the range. And the mutilations, the wounds that they reported, said that they were precise. There was the removal of the genitals and the rectum and the eyes, and no blood. So there is precedent for humans being abducted by UFOs and then horribly mutilated and then left. The story was said, they said it was leaked out by people who are directly involved in the incident, but the military will neither confirm or deny that such an incident take place. But that's kind of just, SOP. Like, why would you confirm that kind of thing?
you know?
Yeah.
I've tried to pull up more information on it. I know that that story is on a lot of UFO sites and stuff like that. There's a couple. It takes a little bit of digging to find, but it's really hard to find corroborating stuff on that. But that's just kind of saying that the Guaraparanga case is not the first time that a UFO may have been. Well, that one definitely wasn't. If it really happened, like that's definitely a UFO cause of death. And then the Guaraparanga case could have also been why. You kind of have to ask. I mean, I'd understand why it would happen near a military base if that was the case. Like that'd be weird. But Guaraparanga is like nowhere in Brazil. There's like a reservoir there, and that's pretty much it. Like it's not a big area or anything like that. Pretty sure.
It's just man, like looking at those pictures, like it just. Now we know there's tons of like UFO species and stuff, and like people claims, and like whatever does this, it's like, man, it's so cold and like callous, and like it's just it honestly worries me a little, because I'm like, man, if something's out there like that, that's like it treats us like we treat everything else on this planet, like it's just like we don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
These fucking monkeys. What's inside them? Quickly, suck it all out. Let's go.
Right.
Toss it back.
The fact that they tossed it back is just a weird thing to me. It's just like, why would you even put it back? Like, why wouldn't you just vaporize it or launch it into space? Like, space it. Like, why would you put it back if you're an alien thing? Some people say that these abductions and mutilations are the result of a secret. They have which we might talk about later, but like it's a secret. That's always kind of come up, where it's kind of a secret agreement between the shadowy government, the shadow government powers, and aliens, and like the aliens have a certain. I think it was an X-Files episode though. It was where they had a secret, agreement with the aliens. Like you can take only so many people to experiment on. You have like a certain quota or whatever that you can take. There's a agreement on that. So some people say that's kind of the reason that kind of stuff happens. So people who do disappear, it is UFOs just picking up those people that you never find. I mean, lots of people go missing. I mean, just from missing 411 stuff like that, tons of people go missing every year, and it would be impossible to find them if UFOs were taking people. Like, why would you wouldn't even know? The UFO mutilations, these are the only two really human ones that I've heard about that I've seen that digging around. Like these are the only two that you really find where it's humans that were abducted. The cattle mutilations, on the other hand, there's been over 10,000.
Fucking rampant.
Yeah. There's
rampant.
Somewhere in the range of about 10,000 cases of cattle mutilations. Yeah, some of them can be attributed to predators, but there's tons of them that are just chalked up as unsolved, or they have no reason as to why these precise wounds, the lack of blood, that kind of stuff. And even on some farms, like they've been reported, like other animals react to it, like they won't go near the bodies. After it happens, like dogs won't come out of the house. Horses are visibly agitated just in the general area. They won't go anywhere near the area where it happened. Like they saw something that was really effed up, and you just have animals just, they're kind of tuned in on a different level than we are, and maybe they know something really, really, really strange has happened. And it's, some people have said that like when they found the corpses, that they were fresh enough, like quick enough to get there. They smelled burning smell coming off the corpses and things like that.
Yeah,
but
some people say a strong like medicinal odor.
Yeah, it's the first well publicized mutilation. Not saying that it's the very first one, but the first one that really kind of made people's heads turned happened back in 1967, and that was a horse that they had found in Alamosa, Colorado. And that one had the same kind of things. They said this one had its head and neck had been skinned, and her hide had appeared to be cauterized. So somehow it had just removed that.
And no blood at the scene.
Yeah, no blood. And in case you're wondering, like in a full-grown horse, like some of these, or probably cattle, are about the same. But
we're no professionals. We're no professionals.
We're not large animal vets. But there are, like, a large male horse that's about like 1,200 pounds should have about 4 gallons of blood. And when they find some of these corpses, like, there's no blood to be found. Right? They might find like small patches of like dark and stuff, but it's like that's where probably like body.
It's actually mind blowing. Like, the blood is gone, and this isn't a conspiracy. This actually happens.
Yeah.
The FBI in 1979 like did an investigation and determined there had been 8,000 mutilations in Colorado alone. No blood. Like, this happens, and it's not a bigger deal. Everyone's just like, oh, that's fucking weird.
Yeah. And it's, how are you going to let people do that? It's I mean, the FBI obviously can't get in there and be like, oh, it was aliens, it's just, I can't imagine being a cattle rancher and this happening, dude, because this stuff is like this is a serious, losing 1 or 2 cattle, like, that's a big deal to a cattle rancher. And like losing sometimes maybe around like 8, like, that is bad news. Yeah.
And the fucking, like all scavengers, like coyotes and shit, they won't go around the bodies.
Yeah. Scavengers won't, but they don't have any of the hallmarks of scavengers. Nothing's like pulled off, nothing like biting around in there.
Dude, if you hit a deer on the side of the road, there's like 35 crows chilling there within like 45 minutes. Just chilling, like, is this thing dead? Can we start picking at it? And like these mutilated cows and stuff, it's like nothing will go even near it.
That's the weirdest part for me, is like you find that kind of stuff out there and nothing will touch it. That's not natural. The numbers, yeah, like 10,000, that is a huge number. And even if only half of those are unexplained, that's still 5,000 that are unexplained. Like, I can't believe that nobody's really. I mean, there are people who are investigated. Like, there's a couple people like Mr. What's his name? Mr. Chuck Zukowski. This guy has spent like 30 years investigating reported UFO sightings, and he says that he's if you have heard about him before, he's got a kind of theory that there's a UFO highway running across the United States where you can kind of mark out like UFO sightings. But I guess, I don't know, correlating data kind of makes like a line of where UFOs kind of head. I think it's north to south. And that all along this is where you find most of the cattle mutilations and things like that, and UFO sightings. Yeah, I really could not imagine just being a cattle rancher and there's nothing you can do when it happens. You see these, some of them have reported seeing strange lights on their property. They see strange lights and then they find this stuff, and I would be so scared. Like, I would be terrified. I don't know what I would do. Like,
in the Snippy case alone, the horse's case, there's absolutely no presence of any kind of tracks within 100-foot radius of the carcass. Not even the horse's own tracks. The horse's last tracks are 100 feet from the body.
But they have been picked up and carried there and put back down.
Not dragged, picked up and dropped. So, but within the radius of this horse, there were several small holes that were like punched into the ground, and 2 little bushes were absolutely flattened. That was within the...
Yeah.
Like, no fucking footprints around. No drag marks. No blood. This thing was just dropped.
Yeah.
Seemingly dropped.
Yeah. The biggest thing you could maybe get is like a bear, but even like a bear, like what? It's not even in Colorado and stuff. You might see a black bear. I don't think maybe a grizzly or something. But
they don't lick. They don't lick. they don't sit licking up the puddle of blood like a baby deer.
Jeez, I can't even.
So in Rio Arriba County, New Mexico, June 1976, same kind of thing with a 3-year-old cow, but they found a trail of suction cup-like impressions leading from the mutilated cow. These indentations were in a tripod form, 4 inches in diameter, 20 inches apart, and disappeared 500 feet from the dead cow. Fucking unbelievable.
Yeah. And you got to ask yourself, like, why? I mean, you could be like, oh, these are UFO manipulations. The next question is, why cows? Why cows?
Yeah.
You know, why cattle? Unless they want to see what we're eating. Like, I mean, we do consume a large amount of cattle. Maybe they're like, oh, what's so special about these things that we eat, that they eat them?
And we farm them, yeah. Well, you know what? To be honest, though, cows are so docile. You know what I mean? I bet they're easy targets because, like, you know what I mean? Like, you spook a deer's running and shit. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Cows just fucking sit. I've seen a cow licking water and another cow came and shit on the cow's face and he just didn't even care. Like, cows are disgusting and they don't give a shit. So, like, I guarantee you pick that cow up, he didn't even give a shit that he was, like, probably floating in the air getting dissected. He's probably still chewing on some cud or something. Oh, man, there's so many. March 1978. And, like, these are just famous ones. But, like, they still happen. There was one in Alberta not too long ago. There's a whole shitload of goats got mutilated in Indonesia. Like, it happens all the time.
All over the world. Like, not even, like, even from Alberta all the way down to Argentina. Like, Argentina, like, just this year, they've had these kinds of weird stuff happening. Like, they've had farmers have been, in at least one of the areas, I think it's El Santa Fe, in northeastern Argentina, said that they've had local farmers said that they've had at least 7 cows that have been killed and mutilated, and some of them believe that this is due to extraterrestrials.
March 1978, 11-month-old bull in Dulce, New Mexico. Oh, that name sounds familiar. Mm-hmm. Had all the classic mutilation signs, including removal of rectum, sex organs with what appeared to be a sharp and precise instrument. Its internal organs were found to be inconsistent with normal case of death, followed by predation. So, like normally shit would be eaten out and chopped. Both the liver and the heart were white, mushy, and they had the texture and consistency of peanut butter.
Oh,
peanut butter. Imagine you went in and we were going to look at where the heart's supposed to be, and you went and you're like, why is this thing peanut butter in here?
gross.
Unbelievable. Samples of the animal's liver were found to be completely devoid of copper and to contain 4 times the normal level of zinc, potassium, and phosphorus. He's the scientist performing the autopsy was unable to explain these anomalies. The listen to this, blood samples taken that day were reported to be light pink in color and did not clot after several days.
That's crazy. Like, these things blood clots really fast.
Right away.
Yeah. And
so something's injected so they can suck it all out, right?
Yeah,
Easily.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Oh man, this is like the only things that have the anti-clotting thing, I think, are like mosquitoes, vampire bats are like produce in their saliva. They've got enzymes that produce inhibit clotting, and leeches. Unless it's giant leeches, which is terrifying. I hope not, but you know, yeah, that's if that much, or you're just taking out blood. There's no giant leeches running around, and the people aren't. Why would you inject your cows with anticoagulant or whatever? That's insane. They're just like sucking out organs and stuff. Yeah, you see a lot of these. There's photos of the ones from Argentina. We'll probably have to post those. That the eyes are missing, and which is okay. Yeah, sure, maybe scavengers and stuff. But like the whole area of the mouth, just like the ones in the guy from Guaraparanga, it's like the whole, all the way back to like pretty much where the jaw like the back of the jawbone, like where the jaw meets like the top of the skull, like it's all gone. All the skin there is gone.
It's okay. So this drives me nuts. So there's a scientific skeptic, Robert Carroll. He conducted an experiment where they left a recently dead cow in a field and observed it for 48 hours straight. And he said that during that 48 hours, post-mortem bloating was reported to have caused incision-like tears in the cow's skin that matched surgical cuts reported on mutilated cows. And while the action of blowflies and maggots reportedly matched soft tissue damage observed by mutilated cows. So he basically says, like, yeah, this is why this happens. Motherfucker, 3 glaring issues with your study. 1, there's no blood. Your report has blood. 2, there's maggots on these things and there's flies. There's fucking nothing. And these things are like this overnight. Like 12 hours. A cow's walking. Next thing you know, cow's missing skin, completely devoid of blood. And they're like, we did a scientific study. It's fine.
Yeah, it's
mind-boggling.
Yeah, the fact that, I don't know, people are in denial, and it's like, yeah, there are a lot of possible explanations, but nobody can nail one down. You know, there's not one that explains all of them, and like the mutilations are so similar, you know, and how could you? I mean, I don't think you could rule out alien abduction. I'm still kind of lost on like why you would take cows. I'm still kind of like trying to figure that one out. But yeah, it's that nobody kind of gives a credit or like what's happening. Like nobody seems to be kind of invested in it except for, you know, paranormal researchers and stuff like that. But I'd be interested to see the numbers. I'd have to look up the numbers, but exactly how many like cattle that you lose in a year, or a cattle rancher expects to lose in an average year, maybe due to weather or stuff like that. But I don't think you lose that many and have them mutilated like this.
Okay, well, even like because people are like, oh, it's cults that take the blood. Like cults take the blood,
You know?
and this, and I'm like, Dan, like you and I are two grown men,
Yes.
right? Let's say you and I had a plan, and we're like, okay, let's figure this out logically. Here's our problem. We're gonna get an 11-year-old bull,
Yep.
right? How big's a bull? 1,200 pounds.
It's huge. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so we're gonna get a 11. This is our problem. This is what we have to do. So we got to go to that bull. We have to not only kill that bull where it is, we have to put it 100 feet away from where we kill it, so that and then not step, so there's no tracks within 100 feet. We have to drain this 1,200-pound bull of all blood.
Yes.
Then we have to do some surgical like stuff on the skin and stuff to peel back so we can see some bone, get rid of some eyes and stuff, right? How the fuck would we do that? Dan, I don't even know. One, I'm like, okay, I guess I could stab a bull, but then I'm like, okay, well, that instantly fucks up problem two is we can't have any blood at the scene.
Nope.
So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm already at a loss.
Yeah. We can't shoot it, apparently. You can't shoot it. We have to load it onto the truck somehow without leaving tracks. How are we going to do that? You know?
And we only have 12 hours because it's got to be back.
Yeah, it's got
by
to
the
be.
morning.
Yeah, it's got to be back, and we have to cover all our tracks. It's
To
impossible.
cover all our tracks.
Somehow move it from the truck. Somehow move it onto the truck onto the ground.
This is a question for our listeners. This is like that weird ass one where it's like the fox, the chicken, and the egg.
Yeah.
And you got to get all three across the river. This is our version of that. It's like we've got to devoid this bull of all blood, mutilate it, put it in a field, not have any tracks around it. Like I can't think of a way to do it. We can't drag it.
We can't. Like, what are you supposed to? Like, and if we're a cult, okay, accepting like Scientology, like what cult that does animal? I don't know, ritualistic animal sacrifice, and I don't think there's many of them. Is gonna go kidnap a bull. Maybe we get a helicopter. How are we gonna? How? You know, like even if you had a helicopter, you'd have to drop people out, and there would still be their tracks. Like they'd still have to cover that stuff up. You'd have to wrap it around. Like you'd have to load the cow into some sort of harness, and then lift it off, and then off you go. Like
I'm
so
saying it
ridiculous.
if you just think of it like that, like it's bonkers to think like, no, like, okay, I can't do it.
Yeah, insane,
I would-
crazy town. Like
Okay.
you.
So then I'm like, okay, the other issue we have, because I'm like, okay, well, maybe we could get a crane, right, and then crane it 100 feet.
What?
But then I'm like, okay, someone's gonna notice the crane.
Yeah.
Like we have to do this stealth.
Yeah. So yeah, like you can't use the helicopter because they'll see the helicopter. Even if you have a huge grazing range, even if you have like something like Skinwalker Ranch. Like Skinwalker Ranch is like 480 acres. You know, and even if the cows were like way far out, maybe you wouldn't hear the helicopter, maybe you'd see the lights, but you would find tracks later. Like there was the helicopter picked up the cow and dropped it.
I'm still at a loss of like, I don't know how to kill this thing, this giant beast.
And why would you use a helicopter? Who's
without getting
crazy
killed
enough to do
myself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, without getting killed myself, I don't know how to do it.
that? And
Without leaving blood.
Yeah.
Do we bring like a Hoover vacuum and like make an incision and quickly suck the vacuum onto it?
yeah, I'm still trying to figure
And
out.
we have no plugins for the vacuum.
Yeah, what are we gonna? I guess a generator or something. But like, I'm still trying to rack my brain for a cult that is like so hardcore about animal sacrifice. Like, we got to get this type of bull, and we've got to get, we need it, so we got to get a helicopter to go get it. I'm trying to. It's impossible. It's
Like-
so insane. It just sounds so much crazy. It's just, yeah. It's bananas. And it's just.
It is.
Yeah.
Because it's far easier to say like for me to be like, okay, like even if we had all of our friends, like we had unlimited resources to do this, I don't know how we would pull it off. I can't even think. I'm a pretty creative guy. I think I could.
Yeah.
But I don't know how we could pull it off in all the parameters in 12 hours that you'd have to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
So if one of our listeners, if you have a way you think you could do it, please like message us
Yeah.
and let us know how you think we could
If you
do it.
listen to this
because
episode and on Facebook, comment on it that
it's
message us with your 100% 100% effective cattle kidnapping mutilation
and
plan.
there can't be one flaw. There can't be one flaw.
Not a single
because like
one.
if there's one, like if you're doing something too noisy, someone's gonna know, and you've got 12 hours to pull it off.
Freaking Ocean's 11 of cattle mutilations. It's just gonna happen.
It's crazy because I'm like, this shit happens, and I'm like, why isn't this shit in the news? Even if one hasn't happened in like a year, why isn't it in the news? Be like, we still haven't figured out what the fuck happened to that cow a year ago. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's way more important than fucking whatever the Kardashians are fucking doing. I'm like, what the fuck's happened with that cow? Like, why is it like that?
And I wonder how
Does no one care?
I wonder how many do either get misidentified or people just say like, oh, it was scavengers, and like, the farmers don't. I mean, they don't really. Not that they don't care, but they're just like, oh, well, it couldn't possibly have been aliens. Like that's just crazy. I was just like, it's just it died of the cold, and then something ate pieces of it. Just, I wonder how many people just don't say anything.
Queensland police. There was cow mutilations September 5th this year. September 5th. Hold on, let me pull up the article here.
Right?
Where is it? Where's Queensland? Is that Australia?
Yeah, in Australia, right?
100%. There was a case just in Australia September 5th. September 14th, East Sacramento. Neighbors are finding mutilated animal remains in East Sacramento.
It's still happening. It's gonna keep happening until we do something about it. I guess. I don't know. Whatever you do about. I don't know what you would possibly do about aliens taking cows.
Argentina, mutilated cows, August 9th. It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. How much this happens, and there's just like, they're like, oh, we don't really know.
Yep.
Anyways, let's wrap this one up.
Yes.
I got some
Put a
couple
fork in it
reviews.
because it's done. Not really, because it's
done.
gonna keep going. There's leftovers.
Oh yeah. Well, that's an interesting topic. We can talk about it forever. It's wild because I like 100% not a conspiracy. That shit happens. Hashtag look it up.
Yep.
You know what I forgot? Where in the world is Mr. Conspiracy? He told me he was leaving for Germany. He hasn't left for Germany yet. He's in Sapa, Vietnam. He's leaving for Germany soon. So if you're in Germany, You want to meet up with Mr. Conspiracy, crush some beers, crush some conspiracies, message the podcast on any social media platform. We'll hook you up with them. Or follow Mr. Conspiracy on Instagram. Follow his worldwide prolapse tour, Mr.Conspiracy, capital ATT, on Instagram. Let's get to some 5-star reviews. Meat Draw Funny. This is a 5-star review from Jeff MB77. How can you possibly combine hilarious, goofy banter with informative, thought-provoking conversation? Well, you can't hear, I'll tell you that much.
Wait, what podcast are you listening to?
Well, ATT have figured it out as they deliver and deliberate great subjects.
Deliberate.
I don't know. I don't think that's right.
That's
Great subjects
word.
in
That's a word. Deliberate.
That's a
to
word.
Talk about. Yeah.
No, it's a word. I just don't feel like it's in the right context.
No, deliberate.
Like-
Like talk about. Like to argue. Or
Oh, is that what it means?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great subjects in a well-informed yet mates in the pub style. I like that, mates in the pub style.
oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah.
They regularly get drunk, which only heightens the fun. We don't get that drunk anymore.
Not so much anymore. That's more like a special treat.
With the infamous Meat Draw Drunk episode being my favorite. Oh. Big favor, please, Braden. Next time you announce space news, can we have your longest ever dramatic pause between the words? Cheers, from Jeff.
Got him.
Well, Jeff, if you listen to this episode, I threw that in for you at the start. And you know what's funny? Zelly's going to probably get annoyed and he's going to cut that gap so it's really close together.
Until he gets to this part, he's like, "Oh, I gotta go back and fix it now."
Can't get enough. 5-star review from the US of A. This is CG with a Ford. I found you guys like 2 weeks ago and I can't stop the madness. I've listened nonstop and I frequently bust out in laughter at my cube. Oh, I think I read that one, but I'll finish it. You guys challenged me to think and rethink so much over the last few weeks. I've told all 3 of my friends about it. I read that one before. Anyways, good review. Thank you. I got read that one twice. I got one more here. This is from TJ on Facebook. I love these dudes. They cover so many cool topics. I love getting Meat Draw drunk and tuning in. There's one more from Casey. Best podcast I've listened to by far. Would love to have a beer with these guys and chat about aliens.
Yeah, we'd like to have a beer with you too and chat about aliens.
Yeah, we'd like to have a beer with everyone.
Yeah.
Dan, you got anything?
Not really. I don't think. Nope. Nothing I can think of.
All right, this week's Zell's Prolapser of the Week goes to your boys, Braden and Dan, because Zell's not here, so I can...
We can do whatever we want.
We can do whatever we want. So me and Dan are the recipients of the Zell's Prolapse of the Week. Thanks, Zell.
Got him.
For just being a couple cool dudes.
Super cool guys.
Couple cool guys doing some cool jobs. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. We're going to go do some live after hours after this. Maybe we'll talk about some cow mutilations and shit. Anyways, as always, keep those eyes on the skies. Peace.
You deserve a tech career you love, coworkers you can count on, innovation you're proud to build. If you're ready to change the world through technology, explore a career at Cox. Make a real impact in engineering, development, cybersecurity, and more, all while experiencing work-life balance, flexible work options, and great benefits. Visit cox.career/tech to find a job you love today. That's cox.career/tech.